The alarm tore through the ship before I even opened my eyes. Red lights spun across the walls of our cabin, and the deep pulse of the warning horn shook the metal floor under my feet. I was awake in a second, my heart's pounding, my hands already reaching for the emergency panel beside our bed. A ship was locking onto us. Not a friendly one, not a trade vessel. The scanner showed a hard, fast approach, the kind that only came from people who wanted something you were not willing to give. My name is Velra Doss, and I have spent my whole life moving cargo between stars, trusting my instincts, trusting my training, trusting the metal walls around me to keep me safe. But nothing in my training had prepared me for what was about to happen on that ship, or for what I was about to learn about the quiet, gentle man sleeping beside me only moments before. His name is Daniel Cole, my husband, and until that morning, I believed he was the softest, most breakable person I had ever chosen to love. "Daniel, wake up," I said, shaking his shoulder. "Someone is closing in on us." He opened his eyes slowly, calm in a way that did not match the alarm still screaming around us. That should have told me something right away. It did not. "How many minutes until contact?" he asked, voice steady, almost too steady. "4, I said. "Maybe less." He nodded, stood, and reached for his jacket like he was getting ready for a normal shift, not a possible boarding. I remember thinking, even then, with fear rising in my throat, that I needed to protect him. He was human. Humans were slower than my people, weaker in the joints, easily hurt. I had always believed this, from the day I met him at a quiet trading post 3 years ago, when he tripped over a cargo crate and laughed at himself, instead of getting embarrassed. "Stay behind me," I told him, grabbing the stun rod from the wall locker. "Please, just stay back." He looked at me for a long second, something unreadable behind his calm brown eyes. "Okay," he said, "I will stay close." That was not exactly a yes. I did not notice that at the time either. We moved through the narrow hallway toward the control room, the horn still blaring, red light flashing over both our faces. My hands were shaking around the stun rod. His were steady around nothing at all, just closed loosely at his sides, like he was walking to breakfast instead of walking toward danger. The ship shuddered as something locked onto our hull. A boarding tube. They were coming in fast, and they were not asking permission. "Get to the control room," Daniel said suddenly, his voice sharper now, cutting through my fear like a blade through fog. "Lock the door behind you. Whatever happens, do not open it until you hear my voice say your name 3 times. "What? No, you are coming with me. We are not splitting up. It is too dangerous out here. Velra," he said, taking my face gently in his hands, the same gentle hands that had held me during quiet nights, that had never once felt strong to me until this very moment. "Trust me, please, just this once. Trust me completely." I did not understand why, but something in his voice made my body obey before my mind could argue. I ran to the control room, sealed the door, and pressed myself against the wall, listening to my own breathing, loud and fast in the small space. Through the door, I heard footsteps. Many footsteps. Heavy boots hitting the metal floor of our ship, the sound of strangers moving with purpose, hunting for something, or someone. Then I heard voices, low and rough, speaking in the clipped language of raiders who worked the outer trade lanes, stealing cargo from ships too slow or too weak to fight back. I had heard stories about raiders like this. Nobody who met them walked away with everything they came with. I pressed my ear to the door, terrified for my husband, this soft, gentle, breakable man who had told me to hide while he stayed out there alone. The first sound was a crash, something heavy hitting a wall, then silence, then another crash, further away, followed by a voice shouting something sharp and confused, then quiet again. My hearts were pounding so hard I thought they would break through my chest. I wanted to open the door. I wanted to run out there and stand beside him, protect him the way I always believed I needed to. But he had asked me to trust him, and some small, Buried part of me remembered the way he had looked at me in the hallway. Calm, steady, sure of himself in a way I had never seen before. More footsteps. Fewer now, slower. Then a long stretch of silence that felt heavier than any noise could have been. Finally, 3 knocks on the control room door, then his voice. Velra, Velra, Velra. I opened the door so fast I nearly fell into the hallway. Daniel stood there, breathing hard, his shirt torn at the shoulder, a mark forming along his jaw that would turn into a bruise by morning. Behind him, spread across the corridor floor, were 4 raiders, unconscious, disarmed, their weapons scattered uselessly beside them. Not one of my people had done this. My husband, alone, with nothing but his hands and his training, had ended a boarding that should have taken our entire small crew to survive. "You are hurt," I whispered, reaching for his face. "It looks worse than it feels," he said, giving me the same crooked smile he always gave me when he wanted me to stop worrying. "Daniel, how?" I started, unable to finish the question, my mind spinning too fast to form real words. "How did you do this? You said stay behind you. You said stay back. I thought you needed protecting. I know what you thought," he said gently, no anger in his voice at all. "You have thought it since the day we met. I never corrected you because I liked feeling normal around you. I liked being the soft one, the one who tripped over crates and laughed about it. I liked that you never once looked at me and saw what I used to be." "What you used to be?" He exhaled slowly, sitting down against the wall, suddenly looking tired in a way that had nothing to do with his body. "Before I met you, I spent years training for situations exactly like this one. Boarding defense, close contact response. It is not something I am proud of, and it is not something I ever wanted to bring into our life together. I wanted us to be simple, quiet. I wanted to be the version of myself that gets to hold your hand and forget any of that other life ever happened." I sat down beside him, my whole body still trembling, though the danger had already passed. "You could have told me." "I could have," he admitted, "but some part of me was afraid that if you knew, you would stop looking at me the way you always have, like I was something soft to protect, instead of someone capable of protecting you." I looked at him for a long moment, at the bruise forming on his jaw, at the torn shoulder of his shirt, at the calm, steady eyes that had somehow stayed gentle, even after everything his hands had just done down that hallway. "I do not think less of you," I said finally. "I think I understand you differently now. That is not the same thing as thinking less." He reached for my hand, and I let him hold it, feeling the same warmth I always felt, except now, underneath that warmth, I could also feel the quiet strength that had always been there, patient, waiting, never once needing to prove itself until the moment it truly mattered. The raiders were reported to the nearest patrol station within the hour, and by the time backup arrived, Daniel had already checked every system on the ship, sealed the boarding tube, and made sure I had eaten something warm, as if the entire event had simply been another quiet evening between us. I asked him, once things had calmed down, whether he regretted keeping his past hidden from me for so long. "No," he said, without hesitation. "I do not regret giving us a life where you never had to worry about what I used to be. I only wish I had trusted you sooner, with the truth of who I still am, underneath all of that gentleness." I realized, sitting there beside him, that I had spent 3 years believing I was the strong one in our marriage, the protector, the one standing between my soft, breakable husband and the dangers of open space. I had been wrong, not because he was secretly cruel or hard, but because real strength does not always look loud or obvious. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like someone choosing gentleness every single day, even when they are fully capable of something else entirely. Daniel Cole was not weak. He never had been. He had simply decided, long before I ever met him, that the life we built together was worth more than the life he had left behind, and he had protected that choice quietly, without ever needing me to know the cost. From that day forward, I stopped thinking of him as someone I needed to shield from the world. Instead, I understood we were shielding each other, each of us carrying strength the other could not always see, until the moment it was needed most. And on quiet nights after that, when the ship hummed softly around us, and the stars moved slowly past our window, I would sometimes catch him laughing at something small, tripping slightly over nothing at all, gentle and warm and steady. And I would smile, knowing now exactly what quiet strength looked like when it chose, again and again, to stay soft for the person it loved.